John Renbourn became the absolute biggest influence me on my whole musical career. There were a bunch of people that were influential. This is also, actually all still the same story about the songs that everybody had to try to play in 1968. I will try to wrap it up in the next couple of hours. There were a ton of guitar players that I listened to. Leo Kottke, John Fahey, Jorma Kaukonen, Stefan Grossman. Oh, I should play a Grossman song. Well, I'll think about that. Anyway, as time went on, I really didn't have, I just had good friends who were really good musicians. And we would figure stuff out together and then kind of do some of our own arranging and a few other things. But I really look at all of those people as my mentors and teachers. It's like I'd get the first Hot Tuna album and go out and figure out all the songs. And just loved playing these tunes. That was Hesitation Blues from actually a Gary Davis song that Hot Tuna made famous. And so all of these guys, I felt like, man, I got all their records. I figured out everything they were doing, or as well as I could at the time. I got much better at it in my second 30 years of playing, than I did in the first. But but with every one of them, I felt like I got to the point where, okay, they're not doing anything new. I think I got all their tricks, and I can teach them to people and things like that. And Renbourn was the only one who, every time I got something else of his, I thought, oh man, he's still doing stuff. He's coming up with new things, and so I really felt like he was an ongoing influence in my life, and I'm so honored and proud that I got to meet him and we became buddies and stuff. It was but he had a lot of I don't know, just a lot of great things to add to the musical world, and we lost him 5 or 6 years ago, unfortunately. So the real end of this story. This was the real Holy Grail. So who knows what I'm going to play right now? If I'm talking about the Holy Grail of songs from the late 60s for guitar players. Mark does. Mark knows, I'm sure. Dana, I recognize you from Phoenix, right? You were, yeah, thought so, yeah. I have to divert for one more second, and then before I play that song, and then we'll like take a break, and you guys can tell me what you want to get into next. But one of the things with getting to know Renbourn was I was able to do a concert with him here in Saratoga at a place called Villa Montalvo, and this was like the biggest thrill of my life. Getting to share the stage with with the biggest influence in my whole life, and it went off really well. I'll save the rest of that story for another time. But eventually got to do the same thing with people like Stewart and Keola and Laurence Juber. It's like once I got this reputation for bringing in big names in the world of guitar, Montalvo was really happy to let me do this every year and get so once a year I did a show there for about 8 or 9 years, and the one person I couldn't get, I at least got him close, and we communicated. I sent him some of my albums, and he sent me a big box of all of his, and it's like, okay, well, this is pretty cool, but I don't, anyway. And he sort of begged off because he said he was retiring and really couldn't get in good enough shape to do like even a 45-minute set. But it was just really interesting having an exchange with Mason Williams, where he considered coming down here and playing with me, and I had originally contacted him about this particular song because I said, everybody and his brother wants to be able to play this. This is like one of the greatest pieces of music in modern history, and most people don't play this very well. I'm sorry that the sun is reflecting off my guitar right now. I'm sure it's fun. And how is the sound out there? I'm guessing the sound is absolutely terrible. Oh, thanks. Okay, but I am recording this with an audio thing here, so eventually we'll have like movies of this. You can hear it with better audio than what you're probably getting over your computers right now. But after I contacted Mason, And I'm not going to be able to play this because I can't remember it right now. But I thought I'm going to do a lesson on one of his tunes. Oh, there it is. So he wrote the theme to the Smothers Brothers. And I remember I watched a few videos of the Smothers Brothers show, or listening to the theme, and sometimes seeing him play it in concert at one place or another. And I said, every time he played it, he just kind of strummed it and whistled it. And then somebody else would sing the melody or something. And so I put together a fingerpicking arrangement of it. And that, again, I can't remember right now. Sorry about that. But I've got a lesson on it at TG. So anybody, you can always check it out there. And when I sent it to him afterwards, it was great. He came back and was really complimentary. He said, I always thought about playing it that way, but I always thought it'd be really hard. And then I watched you play it, and it's really hard. So anyway, it was a nice exchange, and he asked if he could send it off to the Smothers Brothers. I said, of course, but I never did hear from them. Anyway, the last piece of the Holy Grail from my childhood. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Well, let me unmute everybody. Anybody have anything to say right now? Wait, how do I do that, Wiley? Oh, I have to get out of full screen probably, huh?
I think we can all unmute ourselves, Neil.
Okay, you're all unmuted now, but I'll mute everybody else. And anybody got anything to say though?
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm on your site right now, and all of the Leo Cockney and Jorman and who else was it? John Renbourn songs are all in the advanced category. And I'd love to learn something of theirs, but they're just all so tough.
Yeah.
Is there anything we can start we can start with? 'Cause I know they're just they're geniuses in the field. And
Yeah. There's a Fahey song. There are two John Fahey songs up there that are approachable. One's called, not approachable, but good to start. Take a Look at That Baby is one of the John Fahey ones. I'll do it uncapoed, but it goes something like this. What his songs do is what this has, along with Grandfather's Clock is another really good finger picking one, and that's probably under my name as a solo guitar arrangement or something. But so like a really good place to start finger picking is a song like Grandfather's Clock that it's just a steady alternating bass with a simple melody. All we do then is try to combine that with the alternating bass. So that's a really good starting point for these types of finger picking songs where you want to get used to keeping the bass going on the beats and then add in some melody notes. The Fahey one I mentioned, there are two that are just a little more difficult than that. Take a Look at That Baby goes something like this. So is that one up there, Paulette? Take a Look at That Baby.
Good myself. Yeah, yes, I see it.
Okay.
See it. It's there.
And then another one of his that is, what's the other one? Oh, In Christ There Is No East or West, which kind of will take me into something else I kind of wanted to talk about today, because it's an arrangement of an old hymn. And you might, if you've been, I think it's a Methodist hymn, but if you grew up in any of those types of things, you might recognize the tune. But then when you hear it finger picked on the guitar, it'd be like that's weird. So it goes something like, it starts off just playing the melody slowly. That was the whole melody. Then he turns it into a ragtime fingerpicking piece. So there are a couple to sort of get started on that. I have another one up there called Shades of Funk that is another really easy fingerpicking thing with just alternating bass and a simple melody. That's probably listed under my name as the artist too. Yeah. So there you go, four new songs for you to work on.
You know, one of the first finger-picking songs you learned, like when you were 13-year-old, was Shades of Funk.
Yes.
From that, yeah, that's a...
Yeah, so that one, and I didn't know anything about it until probably I had the same conversation with my old teacher about 5 or maybe 8 years ago. I said, "Where'd that song come from?" He says, "Oh, one of my students made it up." You know, I thought, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, because it's just an alternating bass over a G chord with a little bluesy melody. The chord change, and a couple little melodies. I can sort of open the
Hey,
door.
Neil.
Yeah.
Jim had a question on how do you achieve that type of finger independence?